Good morning, YouTube, and welcome back to Fernvalley Farms Beekeeping channel. Alright, today's episode, it's time to open feed. Fall is coming. Yeah, it's coming. Winter's coming. Ugh. Up here in the north, up in northern Illinois, we got some time yet where the weather is still going to be okay. October's night could be nice. Even November could be nice. December really starts cooling off, starts snowing here and there, but so we still got some nice weather. But anyways, the goldenrod is starting to die off. The nectar flow is pretty much going to be going away here really soon. There is stuff blooming still, but I'm going to start open feeding. You want to get your hives built up before winter. You want to have some good weight in those boxes, 85, 90 pounds. That's what I like. I like to be able to go out there, take my hive towel, pop the box, and be like, oh my God, that's heavy. Then you know you're good. 85, 90, 95 pounds, something like that. If you go to lift your boxes and they're like, wow, this is heavy, you're doing good. You go to lift the box and you're like, oh, this doesn't feel like much. You need to feed them like now. Especially up here. Down south, it's a little different. To the west, where the weather is nicer, longer, it's different. And I can't tell you exactly how that works because obviously I don't live there. But here, winter is coming. So we want to get the hives built up. Like I said, the nectar flow is about to stop. The queen will start slowing down and laying. So you want to get them brood nests. You want to get that queen laying, get her laying good still, get your brood nest built up. You want to get enough stores set up in there so they got plenty of food for the winter. Because what happens up here, it'll get so cold and lousy they can't come out for sometimes 1 or 2 weeks at a time. So you want to make sure there's plenty of store, plenty of honey built up in there. You can go back and check out the video when this one's over on how I mixed all this. I've got 4 5-gallon pails mixed up pretty close to the top of 2-to-1 syrup. 2-to-1 is basically 2 cups of water, 1 cup of sugar. One bucket of water, 2 buckets of sugar. That's basically the formula for it. Some people do it by weight. I don't do it that way. I just do it 2-to-1. The 2-to-1 simulates honey. They bring that into the hive. They store it. They cap it. That's their food for the winter. When they're clustered, obviously when they cluster, when it gets so cold, when they break cluster during the day, they'll go eat whatever. If it's warm enough, they'll come out of their hives, do a cleansing flight, go back in. Cleansing flight means when bees will not go to the bathroom in their hive. They wait till it's warm enough to fly, then they'll come out and do their cleansing flights. And you can see it, especially when there's snow on the ground, and I'll do a video on that when the time comes. When there's snow on the ground, it's a nice sunny day and they're out flying, you see little brown spots all over the snow. It's really kind of interesting to see. And I do have a pollen sub feeder out there. I'll show you guys that in a separate video for pollen substitute in the winter. When it's a nice day out, the sun's out, the bees are out there all over that pollen sub. And they're packing their legs and they're bringing it back to the hive. Another thing you want to do, which is what I do, I'm not saying for you to do this, how I do it, I put dry sugar in there also. Just in case they run out of feed. I have the screen top feeders, I call them, and I'll do a video on that when the time comes. Probably about December, whether they need it or not. I put this screen feeder in. It's a board that I made. It's got 1/4-inch screen. The bees can come through it. I use small little plastic-like lunch-type trays. I put dry sugar on. So if for some reason they run out of honey, they can go to this dry sugar, eat that. This way they won't starve. One of the biggest things that happens is people will think their bees are doing good. They'll get to February, March. They run out of honey. They starve. There's nothing else because they can't get out and fly. Nothing is blooming yet up here anyways in northern Illinois. I don't know about south or west. But up here, if there's nothing to eat, they die. But if you've got enough, which I found last year, I fed them up really well. I fed each hive on hive top feeders anywhere from 4 to 5 gallons per hive. They were packed with honey and they made it through the winter, knock on wood, healthy, and didn't even touch the dry sugar, which told me there was plenty of honey in there. But I'm going to put it in anyways just in case. And I'm going to do that in December on a nice day. I'm going to put the hive top screen feeders on, get the board, get the trays in there with the dry sugar. This way it's in, because sometimes January can get here and you ain't going to touch them guys for 2, 3, 4 weeks at a time maybe because of the weather. And you don't want to open it when it's cold and all that heat out. This way I know my girls are going into winter with plenty of syrup stored, plenty of dry sugar. They got what they need. If it's a warm day, they'll come out, they'll fly, they'll go to the pollen substitute feeder, they'll eat the pollen sub, they'll bring that back to the hive, everything is good. Get to about March, they're doing really good. Like I said, they didn't hardly even touch it. I had a couple of spots, maybe a $half size of sugar eaten, and that was it, which told me I fed them really well. I also, and I'll do a video on it, I am going to put the high top feeders on also. I'm going to put about a gallon in the top of each hive just to see what they take. But I'm going to start doing this today. We've got a nice week of good weather here. It's supposed to be in the 80s, cool off next week, but if the sun's out and it's warm, they're out flying. But I want to start feeding them today. And I'm gonna when I finish this, I'm gonna wait and see how long it takes them to find it. I'm surprised they haven't found it yet. I got the buckets up here. I'm kind of timing this to see how long it was since I brought the buckets of sugar syrup up here, to see how long it takes for a bee to find this. Because they'll go around the outside of the bucket and liquid's on the side. My dog is over here licking the side of the bucket. So we're gonna see how long it takes, and I'll end that video on that. So what I've got going here, everybody's seen these yellow trays. These work out really nice. I bought these at Menards. These are nice, they're good, they're heavy duty solid trays. All I'm gonna do, I've got 4 of them. I want my bees to have plenty of room. No fighting, no killing each other. So I've got 4 of these. I'm gonna dump sugar syrup in each one, put some straw on it, put the lid on it, and wait and see how long it takes. And monitor it. If they really down this stuff in a few days, that's telling you right there that they need it. If it's going slowly, and eventually they stop taking it, that means they're full out there. Same thing with the hive top feeders. You put a gallon of sugar syrup in there and it's gone in a day, they need it. You put another one, it's gone, they need it. After about 3 or 4 days, if they stop taking it, then they're full. And you could see here, I'll show you, the hives are, if you could see them out there, put the camera over here. The hives are right, you can probably see them, right about there. One of the theories is you're supposed to put these things like a couple of football fields away and make the bees really go find it. That'll stop robbing it all that. Well, my setup here is I can't do that. It's plenty far away from the hives. And I've got 4 of these totes. I'm going to separate them. That'll take any thoughts of robbing away from out there. And it's plenty of room away from the bees. So, but some people, they say put them far, far away over a building, so they got to go over buildings or whatever. I'm really not set up for that, and I don't want to put these in my yard, obviously, because I have a million bees up front. So back here is fine. It's plenty far away from the hives. I can keep the one horse that lives back here out, and we're good to go. So I'm going to set these up. I'm just going to line all these up. I'm timing this to see how long it takes the bees to find that. See this on the camera? I'm just trying to make sure they're sitting nice and level. Okay, I've got them spaced out pretty good. These over here. I forgot to mention the whole purpose behind the straw or something that floats is so the bees don't drown. If you just fill that up with syrup and just leave it be, you're gonna have a million dead bees because they're gonna drown. You put the syrup in, put the straw on top. The bees got to work their way down through the straw to the syrup because it's floating on the syrup. This way they won't drown. Lily, get out of there. This way they won't drown, so they can walk around on the straw, work their way down to the syrup. And before you know it, they'll take that thing down to nothing. That'll be bone, it's amazing. It'll be bone dry. It's just crazy how they do this. All right, let me get the syrup. It's crazy how heavy this stuff weighs. Let me, I'll bring the camera in here. I always buy like brand new buckets and I use them for this only, so there's nothing in them. And I'm just gonna dump it in. And I'm going to leave these buckets out here, and the bees will clean that up too. I'll put a little bit of straw in there. They'll clean all the, anything that's left in these buckets, I'll clean that out too. These buckets are all basically full. So we're going to just, you see this here? Yeah. I'm going to space these buckets out too. This way there's no fighting. Ain't no point in wasting any of this. They'll find it. And I've already kind of trained them actually. What I did when I was done with my honey extraction, I put my honey extractor back here, and the tubs that I used to hold the frames in, I put those back here too. And they found it. My dog is licking the lid, look. My dog found it. Lily's like, oh, this is pretty good. So I've got a bunch of straw here. I'm going to sprinkle straw on the top of this, put the lids on, and we'll time to see how long it takes. Just sprinkle the straw on it. Some people will put floats in. Some kind of a float. You could do that too, put a float in there so the bee's got something to sit on. But the straw seems to work the simplest. There's a bunch of different ways you could do this. This is, like I said, this is how I do it. See this? And I am going to put a couple of small little handfuls of straw in each one of these buckets, because I found too sometimes if you just leave a bucket of syrup up, they'll find it, but they'll drown. So I'll put just a little bit of straw in each one, not a lot. Just enough for them to stand on. Now the buckets I won't put the lids in. I'll just leave them wide open. Here, come over here, lick this lid here. My dog is really curious. Let me show you what this looks like. See, that's all there is to it. A little straw in there. Where are the lids at? Where are they? There. I forgot to show you, but there's holes. There's 4 holes on the long side, 2 holes on either side, 4 on this side. So that's it. That's all there is to it. It's been 20 minutes since I brought all this stuff up here. So now I'm going to time this. Just curiosity how long it takes them to find this. It's amazing how they can find this stuff. And like I said, you could put it even farther away and they'll find it. But this is probably a football field and a half away, maybe 2 football fields. Nah, 1.5, probably 2. I don't know, something like that. So anyways, we will see how long this takes. Those buckets back there, I just sprinkle some straw in just so they won't drown on it or drown in it. That is it. We will just wait and see what they do. But like you can see the holes. I'm sorry, there's 1 hole on the front and back, 4 on each side. Plenty of room for the girls to get in and no fighting. Plenty of space here. So we will time this to see how long this takes. But like I said, just out of curiosity, they're going to find it at some point. It might take an hour, it might take a half hour, they might be up here in 5 minutes, I don't know. I'm looking right now. No bees yet, they'll be here. So anyway, we will come back and update this. But like I said, you got to feed your bees. You got to make sure you go in the winter big and strong and heavy. Lots of food. You're better off having too much and not enough. Up here in the north, when they get stuck in, or even farther north, they can't get out of their hives for a while, and they'll starve, and you got dead bees. One of the only problems with doing this, which I see a bumblebee right here, you're feeding other stuff. You might be feeding wasps and hornets and bumblebees. There's one right there. We'll see how long it takes for him or her to find that. But this works really well. This will build your bees up. I'll build their supplies up. But I'll go out there in another video. I got to haul them all out there, get the hive top feeders out there. 1 gallon in each hive. I got to mix some more of this up. 1 gallon in each hive, and we'll see how long. That'll determine what this is doing. Will determine how much they need out there. If they're not really touching it, that means they're bringing in plenty from out here. So we'll end this video with the moment. And I will be back when there's bees. All right, we'll be back. All right, welcome back. Look what's happening behind me here. You can pick it up on the camera. And actually, this is the next day. I put this out. Let me adjust this. Yeah, actually, this is the next day. Can you see what's going on behind me here? The bees, they found it. I left it out yesterday. I thought for sure when I ended that first part of this video, I'm like, just give it an hour or so. It was like nothing all day. The sun was out, it was warm, but then all of a sudden, it was nothing all day. All of a sudden this morning, here they are. And now I just realized I got all this goldenrod that's blooming behind me. So my girls ought to really be able to stock up pretty well, get them hives out there built up pretty good. So I'm going to leave this, so we're going to see how long. I've got the buckets out here too that the syrup was in. That was actually what they first discovered this morning. It's about almost noon now. I want to say about 3 hours ago I walked out here. I kept checking out, there'd be a bee here, a bee there. But now all of a sudden there's just more and more. And I'm going to guess by this afternoon there's going to be more. But there is stuff blooming, and I'm just realizing what's all out here. Actually, there's some right behind me here. This is one of my little winter paddocks for the horses. Right here. I got goldenrod, right? Yeah, I got goldenrod about to bloom right here. I've got goldenrod like everywhere all of a sudden back here. And that's okay. And that's okay. I want my girls really fed up going into winter. So between the goldenrod, the open feeding, this might be all I have to do. I've got a little bit of syrup left in the basement that I could top off one of these tubs if I have to. But I should be good. We'll find out. I didn't realize all this was goldenrod until it was like just now. I wasn't paying attention. And all that back there is all blooming. So, and back there, this is like a whole restaurant over here, I guess, for my bees, right? I got my big restaurant. This horse that lives in here in the wintertime, he's out there right now. He don't come in here till the winter, so I got plenty of time for this. So, anyways, that is my story. Get your bees fed. I'm feeding my bees. They're finally, it took them a day to find it. I'm not sure why. It was beautiful and sunny yesterday, but that just kind of tells me, you put your open feed out and they're not touching it, there's stuff out there. And there is still stuff to forage on, but they found the syrup, so that's fine. Let them just fill up on that. My pollen feeder, I got to check that. I'm sure there's nothing, I know there's nothing going on there. And we had such a really heavy rain. A couple weeks ago, there's some rain blew in there and ruined some of it, so I got to scrape all that out and a few of those out there and put some dry pollen in there. But I won't do that now until this is all. When all this goldenrod is dead, then I know we're pretty much done. So Anyways, that is it. Questions, comments, please leave and feed your bees. Make sure you go in the winter nice and heavy. And I will talk to you guys like really soon in the next video. All right, bye.